Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the channel. UFC Fight Night Singapore Max Holloway versus the Korean Zombie Chan Sung Jung just ended, and this is going to be my full card post-fight. I'm going to go through every single fight on the card and give you a quick breakdown and reaction to the result. Starting off with the first fight of the night, Seungwoo Choi versus Jarno Errens. Seungwoo Choi hurt him multiple times in the first round. I think he hurt him twice, really stung him bad on the feet. Was chopping his legs, really showed no killer instinct when he had him hurt. Second round, Choi gets hurt badly, and you have Errens end up on top, but he really does nothing with it. And then you have Choi work his way back to his feet, take Errens down, and then control him for about 4 minutes and land some damage with the ground and pound as well. So honestly, I scored the second round for Choi. So I had Choi up 2 rounds going into the third, and then Choi was just battering him in the third round. Wasn't super eventful, but he was really chewing up that leg. Even dropped him with the leg kicks. I really think he could have finished him in the third round. But after he drops him with the leg kicks towards the end of the third round, like there's probably a minute, 2 minutes left, he just follows him to the ground and then controls him on the ground, gets his back for a little bit, looking for a submission. But had he had fight IQ, had he waved him back to his feet, I feel like he could have found a finish. And instead, now he gets this kind of lackluster decision win where he probably could have found an easy finish in that third round because he took Jarno Errens' legs completely away from him. So I'm a little bit disappointed in that. Overall, it wasn't an outstanding performance by either guy. Neither guy looked particularly good, and it wasn't all that great of a fight, even though there was multiple points where each fighter got hurt. But outside of that one moment in round 2 where Choi got dropped, he really was not in any trouble in this fight. But overall, he gets the decision. He wins the fight. I think it was 30-27 on one judge's scorecards, and I think they had it 29-28 for the other 2 judges. I have no problem with either one of those. I think it probably should have been 30-27, but either way, I guess you could say in the second round, he dropped him, so he did more damage than the ground and pound strikes and the control time for 4 minutes. Moving up on the card, Liang versus JJ Aldrich. In the first round, you have Liang doing the head and arm throw over and over and over again. Gets her down a couple times, really does nothing with it. I think early on in this fight, she landed a couple good shots on the feet. Towards the end of the first round, JJ Aldrich, from the head and arm throw, ends up getting the back of Liang, does a little bit of damage there. I had JJ Aldrich winning the first round because on the feet, she landed a couple good shots as well, landed the harder, more damaging shots. Second round, you had Liang shooting on another takedown, easily stuffed, but then she goes to the back of JJ Aldrich, gets the back of JJ Aldrich. JJ Aldrich kind of scrambles, end up giving up half guard. Liang's looking for an arm triangle. Then you have JJ Aldrich kind of scramble out of that a little bit. Next thing you know, Liang is looking for an arm triangle from the bottom with JJ Aldrich on top of her. And then next thing you know, basically JJ Aldrich, full mount, nasty ground and pound, flattened her out multiple times, was landing ground and pound there, and then basically just finished her from the full mount. She was kind of on her side when she finished her, but Liang just basically kind of gassed out, had nothing to offer off of her back. Once she got sprawled and controlled and lost top position, she just got dominated, and JJ Aldrich gets a second round TKO. Moving up on the card, Billy Goff versus Yusaku Kinoshita. Billy Goff was getting kind of chewed up early. He was eating some big shots. He was landing some leg kicks early, landing some good inside leg kicks, but the fight was looking like it was trending in Kinoshita's direction. He was landing some decent, powerful shots. He was moving well. He looked kind of technical on the feet. Then Billy Goff just catches him with a nasty body shot, hurts him badly, drops him, and finishes him. It was a fight where you really didn't get to see it all play out all that much. So really, I think, maybe Billy Goff could have started finding his range and landed some decent shots, because really, I want to say Kinoshita was winning and he was getting out ahead of Goff, but Goff was still having some moments. He just looked like the momentum was going in Kinoshita's way, and then boom, he lands the nasty body shot, drops him badly, and then finishes him on the ground. Good win, another win for him where he kind of takes some damage and then he finds a kill shot and gets the finish like he did on Dana White's Contender Series. Moving up on the card, Kenan versus Rolando Bedoya. Kenan gets the win, 29-28. First round, pretty much all Rolando Bedoya, chopping the legs, a little bit of clinch work, landing better shots on the feet. Second round, Kenan hurts him on the feet and really just outstrikes him in the second round. You could just see Rolando Bedoya starting to slow down. Third round, Rolando Bedoya just slows down even more, gets beat up on the feet, just getting outstruck, and Kenan just moving well, getting in and out, avoiding the shots of Bedoya. Bedoya tried to clinch up, I think, in the second and third round. Really had no success with it. He was still landing some decent leg kicks, but I scored the second and third round for Song Kenan. I thought he got it done. And honestly, Rolando Bedoya just seemed like he gassed out. It seemed like he had absolutely no gas tank. It seemed like after the first round, which wasn't even a particularly high output, it seemed like all of a sudden his cardio was completely gone. So Song Kenan gets it done, 29-28 decision. And, you know, I think it's kind of disappointing. Rolando Bedoya looked good in his UFC debut. He lost a split decision. And now he comes out against Song Kenan, looks good in the first round, but then completely falls off a cliff in the second and third round. Kenan gets it done. Decent win for him. Not all that great, but he gets it done, 29-28 decision. Moving up on the card, Chidi Njokuani versus Michał Oleksiejczuk. Michał Oleksiejczuk gets it done, first round KO, and what a war this was while it lasted. Both guys landing good shots. Chidi Njokuani landing knees as Oleksiejczuk is coming in. Eventually, Chidi Njokuani shoots it on a takedown, ends up on bottom. Oleksiejczuk really doesn't do much with it, kind of lets him up. They get back to their feet, and Njokuani lands a head kick that rocks Oleksiejczuk. And then he starts throwing a bunch of standing elbows where Oleksiejczuk kind of blocks those standing elbows. They really land on the forearm. And then it seemed like Chidi Njokuani started to kind of gas out a little bit. And then you had Oleksiejczuk land a nasty left hand, hurt him badly, swarm him up against the fence. Basically ends up getting him down. I think Chidi Njokuani shot it on a takedown. And you have Michał Oleksiejczuk end up on top in the guard, just starts smashing him in the guard with ground and pound shots, then just stands up, stacks him, just starts smashing him some more, and gets the first round TKO. Chidi Njokuani's cardio just failed him. He had this one burst where he hurts him badly and then just isn't able to get it done. And honestly, this fight for him at 30, I think he's 34 years old, I don't know where he goes from here, because now he got smashed by Oleksiejczuk making his way up the ranks and gets finished brutally. And really, it seemed like he gassed out, which is, I mean, if you're gassing out in the first round of a 3-round fight, that is a massive problem. Maybe it was just because he got hurt badly by that left hand. I'm sure that was part of it. But overall, I thought the performance from Chidi Njokuani, even though he had moments, I just thought it left a lot to be desired. I did not think it was super impressive. Oleksiejczuk, he got clipped, so you can kind of say the same about him. But at the end of the day, dude, he was ready to just press forward and just throw nonstop heat. And he found the finish and eventually finishes him on the ground. Gets a first round TKO. So I think it was a solid win for Oleksiejczuk. Moving up on the card, Toshiomi Kazama versus Garrett Armfield. Garrett Armfield just went out there and absolutely wrecked him. I mean, Armfield was just moving forward, landing combinations, dropped him, let him up. Tried to kind of finish him a little bit, but then realized, look, I don't want to grapple with him. Dropped him again with the right hand, and it was just over. The referee stepped in right away. A little bit of an early stoppage, but it was more like accumulative damage than anything because Armfield was just beating him up. And Kazama was really just looking to grapple. He's too one-dimensional. He was just looking to grapple nonstop, looking to shoot in on takedowns, just wasn't able to find him. And you had Armfield just absolutely wreck him on the feet. He was outmatched on the feet badly by Armfield. Armfield was just pressing forward, throwing combinations, throwing power shots. And it looked for a little bit like Armfield was starting to slow down. And I'm wondering, okay, is he going to gas? Is he going to get taken down? He just kept pressing forward, kept throwing heavy combinations, eventually found that kill shot with the right hand, dropped him badly. The referee jumped in super early. I felt like it could have gone longer, but at the end of the day, I don't think it would have changed much. I think he probably would have got finished anyway, so it's not the worst stoppage in the world. I know some people were complaining that it was early, but Garrett Armfield went out there and absolutely destroyed him. It was a great performance, and he looked like much improved from his last performance and went out there and got the first round finish. Moving up on the card, we have Waldo Cortes-Acosta versus Łukasz Brzeski. Acosta, like typical Acosta performance, just eating leg kick after leg kick after leg kick after leg kick. I mean, does he not know how to check a calf kick? It seems like that. Now, Acosta caught a kick and then landed a nasty right hand that kind of rocked him, followed up with, I think, another 2 right hands that hurt him badly, hurt Brzeski badly. Brzeski literally decides mid-fight, look, I'm going to turn my back and I'm going to pull a Chelsea Chandler. I'm going to sprint with my back completely turned to Acosta. Acosta lands 2 follow-up shots, drops him badly, face plants him, and the referee jumps in. This was honestly an impressive finish, But at the same time, the performance as a whole, like, he has to address these leg kicks. I don't know how he's continuing to go out there and just eat calf kick after calf kick after calf kick with no response. Absolutely no response. Now, he got it done. He caught a kick and KO'd him. But at the end of the day, he has to learn how to address that if he ever wants to move up the ranks. So I really feel like we didn't really learn anything from this fight other than Waldo Cortes-Acosta. I wanted to mix up his name there for a second. Has a little bit of power. I didn't think he had power in his hands. I thought he would win this fight by decision, but he gets it done. He rocks him badly, makes him turn into Chelsea Chandler, starts sprinting for the hill, and then gets a brutal finish, face plant finish for Waldo Cortes-Acosta. Moving up on the card, the first fight on the main card, Junior Tafa versus Parker Porter. Junior Tafa gets a first round KO. There's some striking exchanges early. Tafa lands a nasty knee that I thought was going to KO Porter badly. Then lands a right hand. Porter starts looking for takedowns. They end up in a clinch. Tafa's able to work his way out of the clinch. Lands a nasty short elbow when they exit the clinch. And then all of a sudden, they're kind of in like a single collar. And Tafa just starts lighting him up with uppercuts. Lands a right hand and face plants Parker Porter. Brutal first round KO by Junior Tafa. The most telling thing about this fight is you have Junior Tafa and Justin Tafa, both in the heavyweight division, okay? And Justin Tafa looks like he's 100 pounds heavier. How is that possible? Junior Tafa looks like he could go down to light heavyweight, which he may very well need to because that division's horrible. So it was an impressive win. Parker Porter is the GOAT in my opinion. Parker Porter has been improving in my opinion. And he went out there and just clipped him up, was able to defend some takedowns, and brutally finished him in the first round. So solid win for Junior Tafa. Moving up on the card, the people's main event, Errens Blanchfield versus Taila Santos. This fight was really, really ugly. And I think a lot of people are going to say, oh, Errens Blanchfield's a fraud. Now, the first round, Santos was landing good shots. He was outstriking her, good leg kicks, stuffing the takedowns, exiting the clinch. Santos clearly won round one. But Santos, from defending all those takedowns, defending all that clinch work, she started to slow down a bit. The second round, she was landing a couple good shots and a couple good leg kicks. But then Errens Blanchfield just constantly clinching up, using her dirty boxing, beating her up in the clinch, looking for takedowns, exhausting her. Santos looked for a takedown of her own in the second round and ended up on bottom. Blanchfield reversed it and ended up taking her down. Did a little bit of damage, nothing crazy from Blanchfield in the second round. She had a little bit of damage, and then towards the end of the second round, Santos was able to work her way back to her feet, but nothing really happened at that point. So I had the second round for Blanchfield pretty clearly, in my opinion, because Santos really didn't do anything on the feet. Third round, Blanchfield gets a little bit more comfortable in the striking because Santos is so worried about the takedown threat that she's like kind of leaving her hands a little bit low. Blanchfield starts landing a couple jabs, snapping her head back a bit, but then she lands a couple shots, boom, immediately clinches, starts looking for double leg, switches to the single leg, makes her work, gets her hands clasped, doesn't get the takedown. Santos is stuffing well and just makes Santos work. And meanwhile, when they're in the clinch, Errens Blanchfield's landing some good shots, landing some good knees, landing some dirty boxing. And I thought Errens Blanchfield clearly won the third round, so I had a 29-28 for Blanchfield. Overall, was it an underwhelming performance for Errens Blanchfield? Yes, it was. And there was times in this fight where she really didn't look like she liked getting hit. And I know nobody likes getting hit, but there was times where she was getting clipped on the nose by Taila Santos in that first and early second round. And she looked like she backed off, and she looked like she was ready to pull a Shane Burgos versus Edson Barboza. She looked like she was ready to quit in there. And that's a bit of an exaggeration, but the body language when she was getting clipped up did not look good. And I do think there's a bit of the community, maybe myself included, that overrated Errens Blanchfield based off of a win over Jessica Andrade, which now we know Jessica Andrade is just showing up for paychecks. But also, I do think this is a quality win for Errens Blanchfield. I don't think she's exposed. I don't think she's a fraud. Taila Santos is a very good, very well-rounded fighter, and she fought well. She had good striking. She had good takedown defense. And even with Blanchfield getting outstruck on the feet, even with Blanchfield not able to find the takedown, she still found a way to win this fight. And Taila Santos is an elite fighter. She almost dethroned Valentina Shevchenko. She out-grappled Valentina Shevchenko. So I really do believe, even though it wasn't the best performance, I think Errens Blanchfield proved she belongs at the top of the division. So I think this proves more than anything that she is the elite of the elite, but I think some people were overrating her a bit. Like, she's an absolute savage that's going to run through the elite of the elite. She may very well become a champion. She wants a title shot in her next fight, and she may very well get that after Shevchenko versus Grasso too. But this performance showed that she really has a lot to work on with her striking. Her jab looked good in this fight. She was landing the jab, and even in the third round, she started to land some more combinations. But in that first round, she looked very sloppy. She was exiting striking exchanges with her chin up in the air. And Taila Santos was having some success on the feet, landing some big shots on Blanchfield and busting her up. And I really thought after that first round, I'm like, oh, this isn't looking good for Blanchfield. But she pulls it out. She wins the second and third round. She uses her clinch game. She gets the job done, and she propels herself towards potentially a title shot in her next fight. So overall, I still think it was a decent win for Erin Blanchfield. Moving up on the card, we have Rinya Nakamura versus Fernie Garcia. This was an utter domination. Nakamura shot early in the first round, took him down, was just putting him in the north-south at will, was just putting him in the north-south over and over and over again. Really, Fernie Garcia, I think he worked his way back up to his feet once in the first round, got taken right back down, was just unable to defend on the ground at all. I think Nakamura in the first round looked for a north-south choke. That was the only time he looked for it in the fight. But really just constantly going to the north-south, not doing a whole lot of damage for Nakamura. There was times where he'd end up in side control and land a little bit of ground and pound. Towards the end of the first round, landed some decent ground and pound elbows, opened up a bit. Second round, Nakamura kept it on the feet for the first half of the second round, landed some good body kicks. Garcia had some moments, really nothing significant, landed some decent shots. Nakamura gets him down again. Easy takedown. Gets into the north-south again. Literally just shoving his groin into Fernie Garcia's face, telling him, smell my taint. Literally just dominating him in the north and south position. But not doing a whole lot of damage. And then in the third round, pretty much the same thing. I mean, he looked for an armbar in the third round, which got very close. Fernie Garcia scrambled out of it. I think he got a crucifix in the third round, did some damage in the third round as well, but just dominated Fernie Garcia. I thought maybe you could give 1 and 3 10-8s, but I don't feel like there was enough damage to warrant 10-8s for Nakamura. So ultimately, I just had it 30-27. But the first and third round were dominant performances from Nakamura. Fernie Garcia had no grappling, could not hang with him on the ground at all. In the second round, the only reason it was even remotely competitive was because Nakamura didn't shoot till halfway through the round. And Nakamura was winning on the feet, landing good leg kicks, landing good body kicks. So pretty much what we expected. Nakamura went out there and dominated Fernie Garcia. Moving up on the card, the featured fight on the main card, Giga Chikadze versus Alex Caceres. First round, razor close. I thought really could have went either way, but I thought Giga Chikadze got it done, was landing some good hard right hands. Caceres had some success early with his punches, wasn't really landing a whole lot of his kicks, but was landing some good punches on Chikadze. But I thought Giga did more damage in the first round. Second round, they were acting like it was close. I thought the second round was competitive, but it was clearly Giga Chikadze landing more of those right hands, stumbling him, landing good body kicks, landing some head kicks that were kind of getting blocked by Caceres. But I thought round 2 was clearly for Giga Chikadze. Caceres started to pick up the aggression towards the end of the second round. I thought round 2 was clearly for Chikadze. Third round, it seemed like Chikadze was starting to slow down. And it seemed like after maybe the first minute of the third round, it seemed like Caceres was starting to pick it up. The first minute of the third round, you had Giga landed a couple right hands, kind of stumbled Caceres backwards, but then he kind of slowed down a bit. Caceres started landing some combinations, moving forward. But then towards the end of the third round, it seemed like Giga started to pick back up the pace, land some good kicks, land some good right hands. And it was really the right hand of Giga Chikadze that won him this fight. And then even at the end of the round, Giga Chikadze threw a rolling thunder and landed that on Caceres. Ultimately, I think this was a very competitive fight. I had a 30-27 for Giga Chikadze. If anything, you could give the first round to Caceres. I would not give the first round to Caceres. The right hand and the body kicks of Giga Chikadze are what won him this fight. He had some time off. I want to critique the performance, but he's coming back after a 2-year layoff. So I have to give him a little bit of, kind of a little bit of slack. I can't criticize the performance too much. It wasn't a championship level performance. Alex Caceres is really the gatekeeper of the top 15. But at the end of the day, he was coming off a 2-year layoff. He had to get some of that timing back. He had to get the feel of being back in the cage. He had to shake off the ring rust. And I thought he looked moderately good. I think he had good kicks. He took a lot more shots than I thought he would in terms of Alex Caceres landing good, powerful punches. And I thought there was a couple times where, maybe Giga's going to get rocked here. Maybe this is going to be the beginning of the end. But ultimately, he ate the shots. He continued to move forward, landed some good right hands, really stung Alex Caceres multiple times throughout this fight. Never got close to a finish. But overall, I think his striking looked really technical. I think it looked really good, especially considering he had 2 years off. So I think it's still a quality win for Giga Chikadze. Moving up on the card, Anthony Smith versus Ryan Spann. Anthony Smith gets it done via split decision, 29-28. First round was a clear Anthony Smith round. Landing calf kick, Smith got a takedown. Tries to get the mount, but Spann just explodes back to his feet. Spann just throwing out a lot of air in the first round, really not landing a whole lot. Second round, Smith still kicking the legs. Ryan Spann clips him with a nasty left hook, busts up the eye of Anthony Smith, hurts him badly. He can't see it all. He then throws a flying knee that kind of lands to the shoulder of Smith. Gets Smith down, but doesn't have the stamina to finish him. I thought at this point, the body language we were getting from Anthony Smith, I thought he could have finished him there. He wasn't able to finish him. Didn't even throw a whole lot of ground and pound because Ryan Spann has no cardio. But the second round, clearly Ryan Spann. The third round, both guys looked absolutely atrocious. Ryan Spann landed like one good shot in the third round. And really, the third round, whoever won the third round was going to win the fight. I know people are going to call this a robbery. The third round was a dog shit round for both guys. Neither guy looked particularly good. Neither guy did anything super amazing. I thought Smith landed more volume, and I thought, you look at Spann, he's not like he landed these crazy damaging shots. I think he landed like one good right hand, and then he landed a couple leg kicks, and really was just being inactive. And I scored the third round just barely for Anthony Smith. So I had it 29-28 for Anthony Smith. Just barely, would have had no problem with it going either way. And I thought the judges were going to give it to Spann just because that second round, the overall optics of the eye. And honestly, I thought they were going to give it to Spann, but they gave it to Anthony Smith. People are going to claim robbery. Spann was acting like he was shocked. Dude, you clearly lost the first round. The third round was absolute garbage. And what I learned in this fight was the top 10 of light heavyweights, absolute garbage. I mean, Spann and Smith had no cardio. And I know Smith's getting up there in age, but Spann, what's his excuse? He was gassed out in the second round. He had nothing to offer in the third round. I mean, that's crazy. He literally had the opportunity to finish Anthony Smith, did not take that opportunity, and then complains that he doesn't get the decision when the third round you had no output. If Spann would have picked up the output in the third round by maybe 10%, I think he would have won the fight. I think he would have got the decision. But instead, he's there gassed, labored, plotting forward, eating leg kicks from Anthony Smith. And I think Anthony Smith, I have no problem with him getting the decision because I felt like watching it live, I thought Smith took the third round. Now, I know a lot of people are saying robbery. I don't think in any universe that this fight was a robbery. Can you give it to Spann? Of course you could give it to Spann. The third round was horrible. Neither guy did a whole lot in the third round. But at the end of the day, I thought Smith did a little bit more damage in the third round, so I gave him the third round. First and second round are clear cut. Smith took one, Spann took two. Overall, this tells me Spann will never be a contender. Smith will never even be close to a contender ever again, which I kind of already knew. And honestly, how bad is Dominic Reyes? Because Dominic Reyes got smoked by Ryan Spann. Superman Spann, as John Anik would say, lighting it up at MSG. I mean, both these guys look horrible, and I can't believe that's the top 10 of the light heavyweight division. Really, I can't believe it. The cardio was atrocious. And Spann, honestly, his striking isn't even that good. He was getting lit up, eating left hands from Anthony Smith, particularly in that first round, and had the opportunity to finish and didn't get it done. Didn't even really try because he was so exhausted. Because I'm not even sure he's training cardio at all. You're a professional fighter, and you're not even training cardio. So overall, disappointing outcome for Ryan Spann. And I only got 2 picks wrong on this entire card, and this was one of them. I had Ryan Spann in this fight. Ultimately, Anthony Smith gets it done. Split decision, 29-28. I have no problem with the decision. Moving on to the main event, Max Holloway versus the Korean Zombie Chan Sung Jung. Max Holloway gets it done via third round KO. Brutally finishes the Korean Zombie. And the Korean Zombie did better than expected in this fight, but I think people are going to over-glamorize it because the Korean Zombie landed some shots on the feet. That's essentially what's going to happen with this fight. It's the Korean Zombie's retirement fight. He's a legend in the sport. This was atrocious matchmaking by the UFC. First round, Max Holloway hurt him multiple times, was outstriking him. Second round, he dropped him badly, almost finished him. Max Holloway thought he had a walk-off KO. Started to walk off. The ref didn't jump in. The ref probably shouldn't have jumped in. Max Holloway goes to the ground, locks up a Darce choke, isn't able to finish. Korean Zombie gets back to the feet. Max Holloway continues to outstrike him on the feet. Third round, Max Holloway knows, or not Max Holloway, the Korean Zombie knows he's down on the scorecards, decides, look, I'm going to rush forward, I'm going to throw caution to the wind, I'm going to look to land big shots, and I'm going to try to get a finish myself, and boom, he lands a couple shots, don't get me wrong, but then he walks into a massive right hand from Max Holloway. Max Holloway face plants him, third round KO for Max Holloway. And overall, I'm happy that we didn't have to watch like a 3, 4, 5 round beating. But the Korean Zombie should have got better matchmaking. And I know they tried to match him up with Giga Chikadze multiple times. They probably should have kept that matchmaking. Honestly, I just really didn't like this fight at all. And the Korean Zombie now goes out. He retired in his post-fight interview. He goes out, and it was an honorable performance. You know, it reminded me of the way he got KO'd by Yair Rodriguez. Except in that fight, he was winning. He rushed forward last seconds of the 5th round, gets brutally KO'd with an upward elbow. But overall, I just feel like the UFC could have done better matchmaking, but they just wanted to fill a headliner for UFC Singapore. And I also think Korean Zombie probably came in injured to this fight. He had an ankle wrap on, and he also had a knee wrap on. So I wonder if he injured himself, but he didn't want to pull out because this is his main event in Singapore. This is his retirement fight. And so I think he was probably in there fighting compromised, and he gets brutally finished. And honestly, even though he looked decent against Max Holloway and he found some shots and he landed on Max Holloway's chin, I really truly believe, I mean, he's regressed so much. He looks slow in there. He looks sloppy in there. He had some okay moments, okay? And I'm not saying he's completely washed up. I think he could still compete with guys like Josh Emmett or Giga Chikadze or Alex Caceres. And I wish the UFC would have gave him the respect that he deserves and give him one of those more manageable tasks, because I would have liked to see him go out on a win. But at the end of the day, it's the sport. It is what it is. They booked Max Holloway up, a former champion, against the Korean Zombie. Korean Zombie goes out there and somehow finds a KO. We're not even talking about any of this. But ultimately, I don't think it's a bad way to go out. It was so sad, though. He was sad to retire. He was crying in the cage. He was crying on his way out of the cage. And it was just really crazy to see a legend like the Korean Zombie go out like that. And there's very rarely happy endings in MMA. And just to see him get kind of flatlined, face down, his head smacks off the mat, he's bloodied, he's crying in the cage, he retires in the cage, and just say, I don't have it anymore. And it's just really sad to see. For me, I've been watching the Korean Zombie for basically his entire career, at least his entire UFC career. I'll never forget that 7-second KO over Mark Hominick years and years ago. I'll never forget that gutsy performance he had against Jose Aldo in a featherweight title fight on short notice. Just to see him go out like that was a little bit disappointing. But overall, it was just Max Holloway being Max Holloway. He went out there, he showed his striking, he got it done. But where does he go from here? Because he's like fought everyone, he's not getting a title shot. I know a lot of people are going to wonder, who does Max Holloway fight next? I think Max Holloway just has to wait it out. If Volk fights Topuria next, he probably then says he's going to go up. He may vacate the belt. So then Holloway can then potentially be champion again if Volkanovski does vacate the belt. Which Volk may go up to lightweight, try to become double champ again. If it fails, he may not come back down. He may say, you know what, I've done everything I needed to do in my career. I'm getting up there in age. I'm going to retire. But if I have to pin down a fight for Max Holloway, I have a complete wild card of an unranked fighter. I want Max Holloway versus Diego Lopez. Diego Lopez looked like an absolute savage on short notice against Evloev. He looked like an absolute savage in his recent fight where he just absolutely destroyed. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but I remember what he looks like. But he absolutely destroyed him. I think he found a submission in that fight, absolutely wrecked him. And it wasn't the best opponent ever, but at the end of the day, Diego Lopez, I think he deserves something for that short notice fight. Max Holloway can't kill off any other contenders, and I know Diego Lopez could potentially become a contender, but I would love to see Max fight that lethal BJJ threat of Diego Lopez. I think that would be a really interesting matchup. I would love to see that matchup. I know that's completely wild card and it's not going to happen, but ultimately, I think Max Holloway probably just sits out and waits to see what happens with the division and hopes and prays that Volkanovski goes up. But if he wants another fight, if he wants to stay active, book Max Holloway versus Diego Lopez. I would absolutely love to see that. But ultimately, this card as a whole wasn't that great. It wasn't that terrible. I actually did great on picks tonight. I went 11 out of 13. The only picks I got wrong was Ryan Spann, which could have went either way. And I also got Bedoya wrong, which if he didn't gas, he should have won. I should have had a sweep tonight, 13 out of 13. But overall, 11 out of 13 isn't too bad. Let me know what you guys thought of the card down in the comments. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe, and thank you so much for watching.